to talk to our participants and prospective applicants for the Fulbright application. All right, let me briefly introduce our panelists. Well, I am myself, Gohar just introduced me. I teach mass communication at FC College, and I'm also serving as department chairperson. I did my PhD with Clemson University in 2019. After me, Dr. Mir will join us. And she did her PhD from Louisiana State University in 2023. In a way, she's a freshly minted PhD. And she also currently teaches at the Department of English at FCCU. After Dr. Mir, we are going to have Dr. Nazish Shahid, who did her Fulbright postdoc from Princeton University in 2017. Shahid will be joined by Dr. Anila Anwar, who currently teaches at University of Engineering and Technology, UET, and she also did her Fulbright postdoc from Stevens Institute of Technology in 2019. And then Ms. Simi Khosa will also talk to us about some of the Fulbright tips. Simi has worked with United States Educational Foundation in Pakistan for quite some time, and she was educational advisor there. All right. So these are different areas that will be covered by our panelists. I myself will talk about brief intro of Fulbright Masters and PhD program and what the grant covers, what are the eligibility requirements, and what are application prerequisites. Dr. Mir will talk about Fulbright application components, how can you plan your statement of purpose, your study objectives, and how you can prepare for the interview. And shortly afterwards, Dr. Shahid is going to give us a brief introduction of Fulbright Scholar Program, commonly known as Fulbright Postdoc, and she will talk about application components and eligibility requirement. After her, we'll have Dr. Anwar, who will talk about skillful handling of interview and her experiences as Fulbright Scholar in the US. And then Ms. Simi Khosa, she will talk about available resources for Fulbright preparation, especially in the city of Lahore. And she will also add any information that the panel may have missed. All right, with that, I'm starting my part of the presentation. So for that, as you can see on screen, I'm going to talk about a brief intro of Fulbright program, especially for Masters and PhD. The flyer that you see on screen, it's the same flyer that appeared on the country's national level publications and the same flyer that is available on USEFP's website. As you can see that the call for next year's application is already out. It came out actually a couple months ago. And the application deadline is February the 28th, which is exactly 9 days from today, which means countdown has already begun. So Fulbright, let me tell you that Fulbright actually, it's operated in 160 countries. And since 2005 in Pakistan, they are running one of the largest programs. And it is truly one of the most prestigious and one of the most respected scholarships worldwide. Well, here I am going to talk about what the grant covers, what the Fulbright grant, if you are awarded, what it covers for you. So like I said, that Fulbright is one of the richest scholarships in the world. And it covers full tuition fee for students. And with that, Fulbright also gives you relocation allowance, sometimes also known as resettlement allowance. And if you are awarded the grant, of course, you will be studying in the US, and Fulbright knows that it's a big move. It's not only from country to country, it's actually from continent to continent. So Fulbright does give you a relocation fund. And the purpose of that fund is to help grantee, adjust in a new environment. With that, Fulbright also gives you funds for books. They usually give funds in the beginning of each semester. Usually there are 2 semesters in a year, fall semester and spring semester. And with that, they also give you funds for the summer semester if you are enrolled in studies for the summer program at your university. In my experience, I would mostly buy online books because I knew that after I finish my degree, I'll be returning to my country. And Airline allows you to carry only 2 bags, and books, make a lot of weight. So that's why I would prefer to buy online editions of book, mostly Kindle editions of book that used to be available on Amazon. With that, Fulbright also covers medical insurance. Those of us who have been to the US or who have ever lived in the US, they know how complicated their health insurance system is. So this is actually a huge support from Fulbright. They give you full medical cover during your stay in the US. Air travel, Fulbright gives you funds for traveling to the US to begin your degree program. And then finally, after the completion of your degree, they also give you funds for returning to country. Now here for doctoral students, because doctoral students, like, they are there for almost five years, 4 to 5 years. So after 2 years, doctoral students are eligible to apply for a mid-program travel grant, which allows them to come home in the middle of the program to visit family, and even if they want to conduct a short-term research for collecting data or anything, so Fulbright covers that too. Lastly, I have written Fulbright gives you money for conference presentations as well. I'm sure that is available for master students as well. However, for PhD students, they give more funds, which in my experience, Fulbright will give you funds for attending a conference and then for presenting at a couple of conferences. Especially in PhD, there are many programs in the US that require from doctoral students to go and present their work at at conferences, especially with scholarly community, to get feedback on the dissertation and research project that they are developing. So Fulbright gives you funds for that as well. I have not mentioned here, but Fulbright also gives you funds for buying a laptop soon after you get to the US to begin your degree program. I'll move to my next slide now. So I'll briefly talk about eligibility requirements. Only Pakistani citizens can apply. And also it's mandatory while you're working on your application, it's mandatory for you to be in Pakistan throughout the whole process. Here, I would also like to add that can foreign degree holders apply? The answer is yes. Uh, uh, although Fulbright like doesn't discourage foreign degree holders to apply, um, they give preference to those who have no foreign educational experience or exposure. So if those who are applying for Fulbright master's degree, as you can see in the third bullet on screen, those who are applying for a master's degree, a 16 years of educational experience is required. And similarly, if those who want to apply for PhD, 18 years of education is required from an accredited university in Pakistan. I'll now briefly talk about application prerequisites. The first prerequisite, actually, there is just one prerequisite. I don't count Duolingo as a prerequisite. I'll talk about that shortly. First, let me talk about GRE. Graduate Record Examination is the prerequisite that is needed to apply for Fulbright. You cannot apply if you do not have a GRE score report. So Fulbright, you need to upload your official scores when you fill out your application. Let's say if you have taken GRE but you do not have an official score report, then it's okay. You just go there, write your scores, and you can upload an official report. However, Fulbright would also like you to upload proof of registration because they want to make sure that you have taken GRE exam. Now, in my days, I won Fulbright in 2013, and I went to begin my Fulbright degree program in 2014. So in my days, we used to take TOEFL, but I noticed that they are not asking you to take TOEFL anymore. Instead, they ask you to take Duolingo test, which is a test of your English language ability. And Fulbright, only shortlisted candidates will be asked to take Duolingo test, which means if you are shortlisted and you are called for interview, then Fulbright will ask you to take this test, which means you do not need to take the test in advance. Now, that was all for my presentation. Now I would pass it over to Dr. Mir, who is going to talk about application components. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Mir.
I don't see Dr. Mir in this session. I think she was explaining. No, she is here.
He is
Dr.
here.
Mir?
Yeah.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. It said that I cannot unmute myself. So, hello everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. I would start my session of the presentation with the word perseverance. When I was applying, somebody gave me this wonderful advice and said perseverance is the key. And that really helped me in getting Fulbright because I didn't get Fulbright in my first attempt. I got it in the second attempt. So what's coming over here is from my experience of what works and what did not work. So I hope that contrast would help you go through your own process as well. Components, as Dr. Farasit has already mentioned a bit of the components, what I want to say is that have a holistic approach. So please have your pens, notebooks ready because these points I feel are really going to help you later in your application if you have them written down. That's what I tell my students. So one thing is that have a holistic approach. A lot of people actually believe that they need to have like 4 CGPA, they need to have full score on GRE for them to get Fulbright. But no, in my experience, what I'm saying, of course, it's from my own personal experience, is that GRE does not require you to be a top-notch topper student. It only requires you um, to actually have a holistic approach to for you to not only score well, but also for you to be able to interact with the community because it is cultural exchange scholarship. They are not looking for somebody who's going to close themselves indoor and not interact there or upon their arrival back home. So have a holistic approach, and that approach not only in your personality, but also in your entire application, GRE, references, and all those things. So GRE, Dr. Prasad has already mentioned, you need to have it beforehand. Application, another thing I want to highlight is that application is pretty big. I think when I filled, it was 23 to 25 pages long. So do not underestimate the time you would need to fill the application. So start preparing for it in advance. Another thing is reference letters you would need that I needed for my application is that it is something that is not very considered very important in Pakistan, but in the US universities, they weigh reference letters highly. So make sure you have people, shortlisted whom you're going to ask for your reference letters. And another mistake that while asking for reference letters, people do is that they ask the big people like head of the department or vice chancellor of the university. Don't do those mistakes. Instead, ask from the people who know you well, who are going to say great things about you because they remember, because they care, and also because they have time. So make sure you shortlist your referees accordingly. Personal statement, I'll talk a bit in detail. When I applied for Fulbright, I gave TOEFL, but they don't require you to have TOEFL until you qualify for interview. And when I went for interview, then I had just the TOEFL registration and I took it after. A lot of people take TOEFL before because it's easier than GRE, but GRE is valid. At my time, it was valid for 5 years and TOEFL was valid for 2 years. So do not rush to take TOEFL until you have cleared GRE and until they ask you for the interview. Coming towards personal statement is that your personal statement has to have a hook or a personal story. It should be unique. It should stand out. If somebody is reading like 1,000 personal statements, they are bored. How your personal statement is going to stand out and grasp their interest. One major mistake that a lot of people are doing their personal statement is telling how your universities are great, how the program is amazing, how the professors are exactly what I wanted to do. They do not need to know how awesome they are. They need to know how great you are, right? So don't make it about them. Tell your story to them. Tell what you want is a natural outcome of your journey in the past, and convince it with examples, not the big claims, rather cite example, give example, note instances that proves that what you're saying actually matters. One more mistake that I did in my first application was that I did not include any community service because I thought that's just a part of my life. I didn't take it as community service, but it figures out it's really important. So make sure to include any community service, teeny tiny, whatever you have done in your application, because that really helps your application. Study objective, look for connection, not perfection. Explain what you want to do and why. It doesn't have to be perfect. Because a lot of time, for example, what I wrote even in my accepted application was not exactly the PhD work, research work that I did. However, it did make a connection between what I wrote and what I did in the past and what I wanted to do in future. So make sure to have that connection, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Interview preparation, be real, avoid big claims. A lot of times we are nervous and we end up saying big things and making big claims, so don't do that. Another tip that I did was they make us write an essay when we are waiting for the interview. So in my experience, they use that essay to check your writing skills, and in contrast to your applications. So I think it's not going to be a disclosure. Do not plagiarize. Do not use AI to write your applications. Do not ask anyone else to write your application and personal statement on your behalf. Do proofread. Do ask people to give their tips and give their comments. Do revise. However, the original work and word should be your own, because it is your story, it is your personal statement that they are excited to know about. And lastly, calm down, which I was not in my first interview, and in my second interview I was, because it is not end of the world. And the good news is that there are no limits. Like, it's not CSS where you only have 3 attempts. You can apply for Fulbright as many times as you want. And it's not end of the world if you don't, God forbid, get it. The thing is, just calm down, have confidence, and be confident. Keep applying. What if you don't get? Well, you will apply again next year. That's what I did, and I got the next year. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. This was Dr. Mir, who was talking about Fulbright application components for Master's and PhD program. Our next presenter is Dr. Nazish Shahid. She is currently chairperson, Department of Mathematics and at FCCU, and she's going to talk about Fulbright Scholar Program. Over to you, Dr. Nazish.
Thank you, Dr. Firasat. So, can you hear me? Am I audible? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
so this is Nazish. Dr. Firasat already introduced me. So I'm going to briefly introduce Fulbright Scholar Program, which is also for postdocs. So it's a brief introduction because already much has been said about Fulbright program in itself. So it's a 1 year. So under this Fulbright Scholar Program, you can apply for 1 year of research or teaching, or the combination of both, in a US university or college. There's this misconception that you can always apply in a university, but if there is some college and your research interests are more aligned with them in US, then you can apply for that too. And your 1 year research or teaching visit will be fully funded, and you can also take one dependent with you. So one dependent expenses will be covered, but there is a cap on how many dependents can accompany you, but one dependent expenses will be covered. So what exactly will be covered? So your airfare, incidental research allowance. So it's basically the kind of the allowance, maybe you need some stationery, maybe you need to take some samples from Pakistan, so transportation charges and something like that. But you will not get this payment in advance, this incidental research allowance. So it would be the part of your first allowance, first payment that you will receive when you are in US. And you will be given a living stipend, and your health insurance is also covered in this program. So the main purpose of this program is to definitely give you an opportunity and chance to conduct some research or do some teaching in US university or college, but they want you to share the information about Pakistan and its society with the community groups in US or the students and your colleagues. And also when you come back after availing this Fulbright grant, after you have conducted research, when you come back, you have to disseminate your knowledge, and you have to share your US experiences, and of course contribute to the development of the broader community and society here in your respective areas. Can I move on to the next slide? Thank you. So eligibility criteria, I would be going over this. So who can apply? Scholars, professionals, and artists from all disciplines holding a PhD or a terminal degree, with the exception of the clinical medicine science. So you can have an MBA and you can apply for this program. So you can be a PhD in humanities, in languages, or in sciences, non-sciences, and you can apply for this program. And you have to have an excellent command on English, speaking English and written English. And one single-handedly, the most important component of this application of this program is your research proposal. For Fulbright Scholar program, if your research proposal catches their eye, it's appealing to them. So that's your first step, getting when you and you will be more close to getting and winning this program. So your research proposal has to be very clear, very well thought, and very well formulated. Yeah, I'll talk more about the research proposal later. So, and if you are, for this Fulbright Scholar program, you can also apply for lecturing. So if you want to teach in US university or college, so you have to demonstrate the ability to teach in a university in Pakistan as well. So first you have to give them the proof that you have conducted teaching here in Pakistan, and then you can apply for this. So these are more or less the eligibility criteria. So I'll move on to the next slide where I'll talk about the components of the application. There are three main components of the application. So you will be on the given link on the website. You will be filling out this application application for this program. So you will be including your personal information, and then in the same application form, you will have to attach a research proposal and a personal statement. Personal statement has already been discussed by Dr. Mir. So I'll talk about the proposal, but in addition to the application form that you will be filling on internet, you will have to, you are required to submit 3 reference letters. But these letters are not something that you would be uploading as a part of the application at the submission time. So when you submit your application, so you would have given them the names and the email IDs. So when you submit your application, your referees will receive those emails and they will be uploading the letter on your behalf. So it's a good idea that 2 of the letters will come from the academia, and if one letter comes from the industry relevant to what you are doing, it's supported by the industry or some application, so it will put your application in a good light. So but it's not something necessary that if all the 3 letters are coming from academia, that's fine too. But again, these should be the people who the referee should be the people who know you. And another component, one very important component of this application, is the invitation letter that will come from your host, your US host. So you should, when you plan the people in US, and not just random people, you just have to be very clear that you should be contacting those people for them to become your prospective host if your research interests are aligned with your host or your hosting department, or this is something that you can work on together and create something that would be helping your cause, as well as it will be helping the people in US as well. So you have to contact them and then wait for their response. And it's also possible, like in my case, I worked on my research proposal with my advisor, with my host, over a period of 1 year. And after that, I applied, and that's how I got accepted. So I developed actually my research proposal in collaboration with the person in Princeton University. So it is very important. One thing I would like to say, that invitation letter is not something that you can upload it yourself by the time you are submitting your application and you have received this letter. But if you have not received this letter and you have submitted your application, again, the link will be forwarded to your host, and your American host will be uploading the letter on your behalf. But definitely, if this letter is attached with your application, so you will have stronger chances of getting accepted. And lastly, I'll just quickly go over what should you put in your research proposal. For different disciplines, it's entirely up to you, and you know better that how you can make a strong research proposal. But some of the components that I want you to consider while you are writing down the project. So please do include a brief background, and very briefly, in very simple words, don't use mathematical or scientific jargons. So briefly describe the problem that you want to work on. And then put some objectives, and objectives have to be real. Suppose that you are working on the development of a drug, so do not say that this drug is eliminate some disease or something. This looks unreal. So your objectives have to be, there could be general objectives, there could be specific objectives to what exactly you want to do, but they have to sound real. Right. And then also include a section about methodology, just to give them an idea that you are not going to do something from scratch. You already have some idea in your head that how you want to tackle the problem that you are putting in your application, and then connect the problem solving with the methods that you already have dealt with, and then just say that I will be expanding upon these ideas along with my advisor or the host. And in my experience, I have seen that if you can connect the problem that you want to work on with sustainable developmental goals, and these goals which we have to reach by 2030 set by United Nations, if you can connect your problem with one of these sustainable developmental goals, you will have more chances for your application getting selected. And also very briefly put this section, a brief section about dissemination and evaluation of your knowledge, that when you come back to Pakistan, how you plan to share what you have gained, what the knowledge you have gained and the work that you have done. Either it could be either through publication or through hands-on activities or workshops, or in whatever way it is suitable for your discipline. And another very important thing is that sometimes people do miss and they don't put it in their application. You have to justify your reason of why you want to work on a particular research area in US. So if you can conduct the research on that topic or on that problem here, and you have a good research group or research institutions, and you have the lab facilities also available, then for you there is no reason to be in US. So you have to justify that this is something I want to work on, and even though I have some resources, but it would just expand upon the knowledge spectrum and the research spectrum if I conduct this research in a particular state's university or college. So you have to justify your reason, and it has to be strong enough. And lastly, also include a couple of the lines about the time frame of the project that you would be completing in. Like you could say that the first, since you are given a year, so first part of this year could be about, let's say if you are working on something data, so it would be about assimilation of the data, cleaning the data, and the second part would be about analysis, and the third part of the year would be spent on deployment or simulation of it is whatever you are planning to do. So do include something about time frame of your project completion. That's it from my side. Thank you.
This was Dr. Nazir Shahid, who was talking about Fulbright Scholar Program. Our next presenter is Dr. Anila Anwar. Dr. Anila currently teaches at UET, and she also did her postdoc with Fulbright from Stevens Institute of Technology. She's going to talk about how to skillfully handle the interview and also her educational experiences in the US. Over to you, Dr. Anila.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. For the skillful handling of the interview, the first and the major thing is you need to research the Fulbright program thoroughly and understand its goals and be familiar with your application materials. Whatever application you have already submitted, your research proposal, your personal statement, and your application form. So you need to revise all these things again before you appear for the interview. So you need to be well prepared for the interview to genuinely convey your interest. The panel needs to sense your passion and abilities to be part of that program. And to be perfectly honest with you, the panel experts can easily detect and can easily judge who are not adequately prepared, which can ultimately affect the entire application procedure and your interview as well. And I still vividly remember after my Fulbright interview, when I came back and sitting in the car and talking to my husband, I said, I don't know what the outcome will be, but I given it my 100%, and I am 100% satisfied. I have done everything with full confidence, energy, and enthusiasm in the 5 minutes they gave me. And Alhamdulillah, I got selected for this scholarship on my first attempt. And the major thing is for the potential, and you need to have all the potential for the introduction. In the introduction, give a short introduction of yourself. The two questions I need to tell you here, the two questions are they normally ask to everyone, are common. The first question is give a short introduction or introduce yourself. So I think you have to rehearse potential interview questions, especially those related to your own proposed project, your scientific domain, academic background, and your personal motivation as well. And answer this question with full confidence, energy, and enthusiasm. I think that's the major key. And for me, positivity matters a lot. So you need to take care of that as well. And clarity and objective and significance of your research proposal you have submitted. That's very much important. And for strategic preparation, you have to have the idea for each and every step of your research proposal, scientific equipment you're going to use, and the collaborative efforts between you and even the other universities, inside the Pakistan. Because I still remember very vividly, they asked me about my collaboration in Pakistan for the project I'm doing here, and I'm planning to go for, for the same project. So I think that's very much important and relevant. Fulbright program's mission and goals. Everything you're talking, they should align with the Fulbright program's mission and goals, emphasizing close cross-cultural exchange, academic excellence, and your leadership potential as well. And you have to be, for the body language, dress appropriately. I say maintain good posture, eye contact, and speak very clearly and confidently as well. So for the adaptive agility and resilience, demonstrate an understanding of cultural difference and openness to learning from diverse perspectives. And enables, and this thing will definitely enable you to thrive in dynamic and ever changing situation as well. And another question, which is very much common and they normally ask to everyone, it's any question. So they ask you if you have any question, you can ask that question. So this is another opportunity for you. Whatever you have in mind, you can ask politely, but be polite, positive, and confident in order to ask all that the questions. Next slide, please. Being a Fulbrighter is no doubt a remarkable experience for me. And trust me, it's a journey that will forever alter anyone's life, enriching you with scientific knowledge, with the cultural adaptability, and with resilience, with the leadership skills, and commitment to community service as well. So I learned a lot from this. And among the many memorable experiences, I remember my favorite one was the Fulbright Enrichment Program. And during this event, scholars from across the United States, across the world even, they gather at a central location, and they share their experiences, and they have seminars, they have presentations, leadership presentations, and we have guest speakers there. And the most important thing is, and my favorite is the hospitality dinner. You have a hospitality dinner. Native Americans graciously open their homes to Fulbrighters, offering not just the food, but also a glimpse of their own culture as well. So it's a cultural exchange program. So it's a huge networking. Even after the program, when you come back, you have you can say a huge alumni network as well. So by using that network, you can collaborate scientifically. I remember, in Pakistan, we have, because my program was, I was on entrepreneurship and commercialization of nanoscale biomaterials for bone cancer treatment. So it's highly scientific. And in Pakistan, we are short of scientific equipment and all the facilities. So that was actually the ideal program for me. because my supervisor from the United States, from Stevens Institute of Technology, and that group, they have all the state-of-the-art labs and all the facilities which we really need to pursue that research. So that was, again, and still now, I am in contact with that supervisor, and we are having a huge number of publications combined as well. So that was lovely. And the last thing is volunteer activities. They involve you in various type of community activities, community events, and volunteer activities. They will involve you. So that's another thing which is, I think, very much important even in our society as well. And after that, I have also developed my own charity, Akhira, with the name of Akhira Project. And I'm doing this, you see, in Pakistan, and my international collaborators are also the part of this. Yeah, so that's a wonderful experience. Yeah, so that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was Dr. Anila Anwar, who was talking about her educational experiences in the US. Our last presenter for today is Ms. Simi Khosa, who has worked with United States Educational Foundation in Pakistan as an advisor for several years. Over to you, Ms. Simi.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Simi Khosa, and I worked with the Fulbright Commission for the longest time. Thank you for providing this opportunity to say something about it. वैसे तो everybody has said what needed to be said, because उनके अपने Fulbrighters के experiences, that makes a huge difference. But मेरा ये है थोड़ा सा, I'm just going to touch upon a few important components of this scholarship program. Jesse, Miss, you had mentioned that it's for me there are three keys. It's like a dream come true, and it's a cultural exchange program. And also, we should always remember to take a holistic approach. For me, as a person sitting here in Pakistan, मेरे लिए सबसे important cheese would be to apply for the grant, to get the funding first, to focus on that. बाकी तो चीजें, of course, once you get the funding, बाकी चीजें तो आपको Fulbright scholars, Fulbright के जो officers होते हैं, they help you with it, with everything. But the main thing is the application process. उसमें, एक थोड़ा सा you need to know आपका eligibility criteria क्या है. Now, Fulbright program, everybody knows कि ये master's program, जो भी है, master's है, PhD है, they know that you're entering, and the student himself or herself should also know कि एक specialized area में they are entering now. You have to have, they are talking about a discipline. तो जब आप एक स्पेशलाइज्ड एरिया में एंटर हो रहे होते हैं, फिर आपको अपना सारा कुछ बताना पड़ता है. Since I said that it's a cultural exchange program, तो you have to look into this कि ये जो मैं डिसिप्लिन जिसके लिए मैं अप्लाई कर रही हूँ, जिसके लिए मैं सारी अपनी एसेज लिख रही हूँ, जिसके लिए मेरी पर्सनल स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, लेटर्स ऑफ रिकमेंडेशन है, इतना कुछ है, तो वो ये बता रहे हैं कि ये आई एम पैशनेट अबाउट दिस, और ये लर्निंग जो है, इससे मैं वहाँ आके क्या कंट्रीब्यूट करूँगी, और then what am I bringing it back to my country, and how am I going to incorporate this into whatever I'm going to do after this. So that's very important, because it's a cultural exchange program. उनके लिए ये भी बहुत important होता है. I'm sorry. I just got disconnected a little bit. Am I back?
Yes.
Hello, am I back? Okay. So उनके लिए ये बड़ा important होता है कि ये जो भी discipline आपका है, which you are passionate about, ये पाकिस्तान में इसकी कितनी है, because they know कि पाकिस्तान में ये कितना, how are you going to contribute and what are you going to do about this. So basically पहली चीज होती है, you read the application carefully and follow directions. उसका एलिजिबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया देखें, GRE का जो प्रेपरेशन है उसको यू प्रिपेयर इट टू द बेस्ट ऑफ योर एबिलिटी. आप ये ना सोचें कि मेरा GRE का स्कोर अच्छा आएगा, नहीं आएगा, जो भी आएगा, in the first, जो आपने सोचना है ना, आपने ये फोकस करना है कि मैंने GRE के लिए प्रेपरेशन करनी है, ये मेरी टाइमलाइन है। पहले से टाइमलाइन को आप कर लेते हैं अपने सामने कि आई एम गोइंग टू अप्लाई फॉर Fulbright this year, and if I get the grant, I will get to go the next year. So basically focus is on the grant. तो आप GRE का exam, prepare it to the best of your ability. And then I heard somebody talking about a foreign degree. By foreign degree, eligibility criteria का उसका ये मतलब है कि अगर आपने कहीं यूरोप से किया हुआ है, let's say आपने UK से डिग्री ली हुई है, क्योंकि अगर आपने ऑलरेडी US में पढ़ा हुआ है और आपने US मास्टर्स किया हुआ है, आपने अंडरग्रेड प्रोग्राम किया हुआ है, ऑब्वियसली वो थोड़ा सा आपको वो करेंगे, बिकॉज ये बेसिकली उन पाकिस्तानी सिटीजन्स के लिए है जिनको बिल्कुल US का एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है, एजुकेशनल एक्सपीरियंस बिल्कुल नहीं है. सो foreign degree का ये मतलब है. But having said that, of course you can apply if you have an undergrad degree, 16 years of schooling from any school in Europe, आप apply कर सकते हैं for the Fulbright. So basically first step होता है to focus on the funding, how to get the funding. Somebody mentioned the essay. कि जब आप वहाँ जाते हैं, when they call you, तो you have to write a little bit of an essay. It's because आपने अपना एप्लीकेशन सबमिट कर दिया होता है. सो अब वो आपको देखना चाहते हैं कि उस वक्त आपने अपना रिटन टेस्ट दे दिया है, और जब आपको इंटरव्यू के लिए बुलाते हैं, देन बेसिकली you've written your story and now you're going to tell your story to them. So they just want to know कि is it the same person who had written this application? इसने खुद अपनी एप्लीकेशन लिखी है, ये चीज होती है. एंड ऑफ कोर्स लाइक आई सेड कि आप बेसिकली मेरे हिसाब से फर्स्ट फोकस ऑन हाउ टू गेट द ग्रांट फर्स्ट. उसमें आपने अपने आप को आपकी जो एप्लीकेशन है इज योर इंट्रोडक्शन. दे डोंट नो यू एट ऑल. योर एप्लीकेशन इज योर इंट्रोडक्शन टू देम. सो जब वो आपकी एप्लीकेशन से आपको शॉर्टलिस्ट कर लेते हैं, then they call you for an interview, and that is when you tell your story, and that's after that you get the grant. And once you get the grant, applying to universities, क्योंकि ये एक I think Fulbright scholars को भी पता है, and everybody knows कि this Fulbright scholarship की जो application है is just like any application that you apply to a US university. ये already you've been through that, उस grind से आप निकल गए हैं, आपने GRE का भी दे दिया है. Of course GRE का they were saying कि जरूरी नहीं होता. GRE का आपको ये पता चलता है कि अगर मैंने मैथ के लिए अप्लाई किया, अगर मेरा जो है सब्जेक्ट इज टू डू विद मैथ, स्टैट्स और साइंस और एनीथिंग, obviously they're going to look at your math score. अगर आपने कोई लिटरेचर, कोई किसी और उसके लिए अप्लाई किया, हिस्ट्री के लिए और एनीथिंग एल्स, so they're going to of course look at your English का score. So GRE, like I said, don't इस वक्त जब आपने Fulbright की फंडिंग लेनी है, इस वक्त आपने ये सोचना है कि you're going to do the best that you can. So basically get the funding first, focus on that, and then once you become a Fulbright scholar, आपका final हो जाता है, then the Fulbright people, the Fulbright office works with you, and they will help you to apply to universities. Then it's a different thing. Then they will help you on each and every step. So that's all I would like to say. And then somebody was talking about कि ये क्योंकि cultural exchange program है, of course जब आपको Fulbright scholarship मिल जाता है, आप भी बिल्कुल एक ambassador की तरह वहाँ जाते हैं ना, you're like little ambassadors. तो आपने अपने से हर चीज से उनको ये बताना है कि you are Pakistani students, और आपके उससे वो फिर वो अंदाजा लगा लेते हैं कि ये कितने अच्छे students हैं, कितने dedicated हैं, कितने they're so focused in whatever कि इन्होंने ये scholarship के लिए ये grant इनको मिला है, and they're making worth of it. So you have to add value to whatever you do. That is my thing. So इस वक्त first step जो Fulbright scholarship का होता है is to totally focus on the funding, how to get the grant from here. Once you get the grant, then the Fulbright office helps you through and through with it. And then tells you everything. उसके बाद फिर जो भी avenues खुलते हैं, फिर वो उसके बाद की चीज है. But अभी I think the main focus यहाँ पर should be to get the grant. So I'm sorry, I didn't have any presentation because basically since I'm not working with the Fulbright, so I thought that I can only give my input जो मुझे पता है, जो I think so मैं अपने students को हमेशा यही कहती हूँ कि please first focus यहाँ पर in Pakistan, focus on the grant, because इस application को आप get the funding and then the rest the Fulbright will look after you very well. ठीक है? So anything else, any questions that, because I think ये सारे, it's so heartening to know that all the Fulbright scholars, आज मैं इनको सुन रही थी, बहुत मुबारक सबको कि they are Fulbright scholars, मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगा. But thank you so much for providing this opportunity. Farasa, thanks a lot, and that's all that I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Simi. So now we are open to question and answer session. I can see there were a couple of questions in the chat box, but they are already addressed by Dr. Nazir. Please do let us know if we have any more questions. One thing I would like to add, I have noticed that GRE mostly is a deterring factor, but I would like to elaborate on a point that Ms. Simi already raised, that if your disciplinary training is going to be in, let's say, humanities or social sciences, then they will give more weightage to your verbal section score. However, if your disciplinary training is going to be in mathematics or physics, then more weightage will be given to your quantitative section score. But again, do not take GRE as a deterring factor. Just give yourself ample time to prepare for this test and just do it. What is the
Exactly.
Yeah, so there is a question, what is the good GRE score? A good GRE score in the field of humanities and social sciences is 290, whereas in the field of engineering, mathematics, and physics, it's 300. 300 and above. I hope this answers your question. This was Mr. Muhammad Khanzada.
I want to add something.
Sure, please go ahead.
I answered the question in the chat, but I don't know if it went as a direct message. So there was another requirement for Fulbright Scholar Program that you cannot apply for this within 2 years of completion of your PhD. So you have to let the 2 years pass after completing your PhD, and then you can apply for this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shahid. This is, I think, a very important information. You cannot apply for a Fulbright postdoc program right away. You need to hold your PhD for a couple of years.
Yeah.
All right.
And also you have to come back to your country after you've graduated, you've done your Fulbright thing complete, then you have to come back to your country and you have to put in some years, like somebody mentioned, that after that then you're eligible to sort of apply for the PhD.
Thank you. There are two more questions appear in the chat box. One is from Ikra Takreem Said. She's asking, can we apply without university teaching experience? My understanding is this question is for postdoc. Dr. Shahid, would you like to answer that?
So if you want to apply for teaching, you have to have a prior teaching experience in a university, and you will have to give them the proof for that. And also there was another question from Dr. Aisha Anwar probably. So she was asking about a GRE. So no, for Fulbright postdoc or Fulbright scholar program, you don't need GRE. You just have to focus on your building your research proposal.
Thank you, Dr. Shahid. Another question, Mr. Muhammad Khanzada is asking, what is the good score as for agriculture, for the study of agriculture? So my understanding is that for all science courses, a GRE score for both verbal and quantitative section should be 300 and above. However, specifically agriculture, I think you can write an email to USCFP. They are very responsive if you write them an email.
I think you should also put their website, www.uscfpakistan.org. If you go on that website, there's a lot of information. There are so many departments. It's there's this Fulbright department, advising department, Prometric Test Center. So and they can also become I think write in, like you said, they can email, they can become an advisor in the sense that they can become a part of that member also. The advising department has a thing that for a student to register. So they can be helped.
Yeah, what Miss Simi is asking is that you can sign up for free advisor with Prometric Center in your area. Prometric Center in Lahore is located at Fulbright College.
Center, not the Prometric, but you can register as a student in the advising department,
All
and then
right.
they,
Never mind.
direct you and tell you, okay, what to do from now onward.
Thank you, Miss Simi. Do we have any other questions? I don't see any more questions
You're
now.
all requested to please respond to the polling as well. And if anyone wants to say something, you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you.
Meer just raised her hand. Meer, please go ahead.
I just wanted to clear one thing if we have time, is that one of the students lately approached me and said that if you apply directly, he had heard that he doesn't need GRE for master's or PhD. Then I confirmed personally from my American friend who took admission, and I asked her whether it was an international or a Fulbright thing, or you have to. And she confirmed that even Americans had to take GRE in order to get a graduate degree admission. So please stay away from any such confusions that if you select a route and you don't have to take GRE.
And also, I would add to this that you don't have to be afraid of the GRE or TOEFL or anything. Basically, what they are looking at, that these international students are coming from a different educational background and they are incorporating in a different educational system. So they just want to know where an average, from an average American student, where that student is standing. Basically, it's just they just want to know that where that student is standing. Unka to standard GRE ke hoga, because that's part of their educational system. सो जो आपका स्कोर होता है उससे वो ये कर लेते हैं गेज के एक एवरेज अमेरिकन स्टूडेंट यहाँ खड़ा है और ये इसके यहाँ खड़ा है. That's how. So students, I feel, are so scared of these standardized tests. They should not be. It's not something to kind of discourage them or deter them. It's just for them to know कि एक different educational system से you're coming into a different educational system. So how will you survive? That's the thing, basically.
Thank you, Simi. I think it bears repeating that Fulbright has done away with TOEFL. TOEFL is not required anymore. Instead, Duolingo is. Duolingo is a new kind of test which is fairly inexpensive, and you also do not need a test. You do not need to go to test center. So it's widely acceptable nowadays in the US, and Fulbright now is asking you to take Duolingo only after you are shortlisted.
That's right. But I mentioned TOEFL just as a standardized test ka, not because it's a, but I just mentioned, जैसे undergrad को भी मैं कह देती हूँ कि, SAT का भी, don't be afraid of it. SAT. So जो भी standardized testing है, one should not be, sort of afraid of them. यहाँ पर बहुत एक वो है students में, I feel.
Well, Gohar, I think we are good to go.
Yes,
There was
ma'am.
just
Yes,
one more question related to IELTS, and Dr. Meer has already responded to that. So it's time to call a day. Call it a day, right?
Thank you
ma'am.
so much.
Thank you,
Thanks a lot.
everyone. Thank you, especially to the panelists, for agreeing to be the expert for this session and for arranging such a wonderful session. Unfortunately, Dr. Zia is under the weather and was not able to join. And she
Yeah.
says hello and thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, and goodbye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Goodbye.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Dr.
it.
Prasad.